What will you experience at a Knock'em Dead comedy murder mystery show? Suspense, excitement, love, more love, violence. Well, not really. And, of course, some music. Knock'em Dead Comedy is the #1 murder mystery troupe, entertaining thousands of people for over 20 years.
You have a great night or what? Good.
Their hilarious murder mystery shows are full of audience interaction from beginning to end that will keep you laughing all night long. Their shows are not to be missed. Knock'em Dead Comedy's murder mystery themes include a mob show, a redneck wedding, a high school reunion, a family reunion with a luau theme, or your own custom show.
Johnny, you have a good time tonight or what?
Had an awesome time.
All right. She had a great time. KDC, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, all right.
Fundraisers, private parties, corporate events, restaurants, and more. Contact Knock'em Dead Comedy for your event today.
The Knock'em Dead Comedy Radio Show also brought to you by Two Eagles Auto Body. For more than 25 years, Two Eagles Auto Body has been the leader in auto body repairs and customer satisfaction on Long Island. Two Eagles Auto Body handles every type of auto repair, from custom applications and restorations to repairs involving insurance claims. So call Two Eagles Auto Body and ask for John Rossi at 516-328-2527.
Hi, I'm Danny Bonaducci, and you are watching Gov's Radio. This is where you go if you want to see something or if you want to hear something funny. Coming up in just a couple minutes, this is a joke I told. What? I'm not on Gov Radio? Call the police. Call my agent.
Hey, how do you say there, people? It's Johnny Brennan, creator of the Jerky Boys, also of Fox TV's Family Guy fame. I just want to let you know you're listening to Tony and Sally on the Knock 'em Dead radio show. They're going to keep knocking 'em dead, so keep listening, you wacky sons of bitch. Right there. Over and out there, sweet Charlie.
Hey, Tony, you're not funny, and you probably shit yourself a lot, and you're no fun to be with, and you don't make that much money, and you're not going anywhere in show business, and I hope you get hit by a bus, and...
3-2 to Mookie Wilson. Little roller up along first, behind the bag. It gets through Buckner. Here comes Knight, and the Mets win it.
Hello, Tony. Mookie Wilson here, 1986 Mets. How you doing? Long time no see, man. Hey, man, I miss you guys, man, that Knock'em Dead Comedy Radio, man. I miss you. I wish I was still up there, man. But I'll wait till it warm up a little bit, and hopefully this year things will be a little bit better, man. But when we're talking about comedy, hey, the early years of Mets was a lot to laugh about. You had to make a lot of comedy off those guys. Hey, hope to see you guys during the summer, and hopefully get back on the show, man, at some point in time during the course of the year, all right? All right? Yeah, fine. Contact me, man. All right, Tony. Talk to you later.
Hi, everybody. Welcome. It's Wednesday. We're here on a Wednesday. Thanks for joining us. You see the graphic above my head. Please share this show all over the place and tell everybody you know about all the great shows here. Gov's Comedy Club podcast on the Twitch channel and YouTube. Welcome to the Knock'em Dead Comedy Show. Chris is here and Eric is here. Thank you, guys, for joining us today. This is going to be a lot of fun, guys. Strap in. Chris Monty was supposed to join us today, but he's a pussy. Actually, I hope all is well. His kids are sick. He was up all night with the kids, so he bowed out. It looks like as of now he's going to Zoom in with us on Friday. So I'll keep you guys updated. So that's Friday with me and Andy Flajanos. Tomorrow we got John Ziegler in here. And that's that. But right now we have Eric and Chris, who you can see on Friday in the Giggle Room.
Yes, Friday night, March 17th, my 62nd birthday.
So that's the actual day.
Yes,
your
sir.
Wow.
St. Patrick's Day.
Did you say 62nd?
62nd birthday.
Really?
Yep.
Never in a million years would have thought you were that old.
I know.
Wow.
I thought I was no more than 59 and 3/4.
Are you? Chris and I were talking before we went on the air. Do you feel it though? Because you're a solid guy.
Yes,
so.
Yes. I had
2 yeses. Well.
Yes. I don't get laid much anymore, but I do get my knees drained twice a year. So, yeah. I'm getting knee stuff. Because I'm staying so physically active.
Right.
So I'm pushing against my own body a little bit now.
Yep.
But if I wasn't as active, I wouldn't feel it. But because I'm doing so much, I'm doing martial arts, I'm playing baseball here and there, so I lift weights, so I'm.
Yeah, Gertz and I were talking about before we went on the air. We're the same age, and we were just saying the past few months we're starting to feel it, which really kind of sucks.
I'm having this horrible pain in my shoulder, and the first question the doctor asks is, "Have you physically exerted yourself?" I'm like, "Not in years." I don't physically exert myself. They found out it's just from aging. My shoulder's messed up from getting older.
Right, so nothing happened. You weren't moving a box. You just
nothing at all.
Nothing at all.
Would it have helped if you were more active? Or
maybe
no?
stretching. Stretching's big now when you get to our age.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh.
Well, no. What I find is really easy. I just take it off. I don't have to stretch anything. I highly recommend it.
He's a strap-on American.
So Friday. Yeah. So I didn't know that was St. Patrick's Day.
Yes,
That was
that was
your
my birthday of all
Wow.
days. But yes,
When I think St. Patrick's Day, I think Tartaglione.
Who doesn't? Well, speaking of which, what am I hearing? That you're not all Italian after all, huh? You're actually Jewish and Greek.
Greek and part Ashkenazi Jew.
What is that?
I know. Who knew they had Jews in Japan? I had no idea. But yes, and they say Jews and Italians. What do they always say? Same thing. No. Hey, listen, it's nice that people want to feel connected. Bottom line, if I need cement work done, I'm calling Vito, not Shlomo. Conversely, if I need brain surgery, I'm calling Shapiro, not De Niro. Okay, so.
And then when do you call Mr. Chin? What do you call him for?
I know.
Dry cleaning. I don't know.
That's Chinese, and that has nothing to do with me.
Oh, I don't even know.
That was acupuncturist.
Right. Well, that's how he tied in for your shoulder.
Thank you. He tied it all in for me.
Nice little bow.
And when's you're having surgery? March 31st.
Yep, March 31st.
All right. And so what are they saying? Like, how long is the recovery and all that?
They're not sure till they get in. They have to see how bad. Like, if it's just a calcification, they might just be able to take it out.
Okay.
But I may have tears. They don't know. Really.
Oh, they don't even know yet. They won't know until they open you up.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So my pitching career's done.
See that
we were calling him Big Sexy. And it's over.
You Big Sexy's doing the backflip.
Yeah. Remember he threw it behind his back.
That was awesome.
That was what an amazing athlete that guy was.
Absolutely. Wow. See, this is the point I never wanted to get to. Is where the topic of conversation is everything that, all the ailments.
Well, I move now and my bones creak.
Yeah. Huh?
No, they creak when I get. My wife the other night said, "Are you making popcorn?"
And she was all upset when you said no, right?
Yeah. Right.
That's
a good tag. I like that.
It was a kick to the manhood. The day my shoulder got so bad, I said, I'm going to go to the hospital. It's because it was a holiday weekend. My doctor wasn't around and stuff. My girlfriend had to tie my shoes for me. I couldn't, I said, I'm 52 and I can't bend over and tie my own shoes right now.
Well, that's true love, though, that she did it for you. Oh, she did do it for you, right? She said yes?
To leave the house, one or the other.
One of our viewers, Andrew Fremder, he says it's like throwing your back out when you're taking a shit. Yeah. Well, who was it? Was it Richie Byrne? Because I was just here with Richie Byrne the other day. I think it might have been him. Where he's talking about age, and he's like, he goes, I walk around, just from sleeping. He goes, my back is out.
Yeah.
He's, he goes, a friend asked me, what'd you do? He goes, I slept. He goes, that's what I did.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
No, what you got to do is you have to become more and more health conscious, and people become less and less.
Yes.
They go to doctors more. They spend money on it, but you have to become more and more. Like you said, because I study martial arts.
Yeah.
I went back in my 50s. I stretch so much.
Yeah.
That you realize how tight you become in life, just walking through life.
There are certain instances where tight is good,
right.
But
we'll leave that one there.
I'm afraid my mom's watching.
My mother does watch, actually.
Does she?
Yeah, so I'll leave it at that, too.
I would leave it there.
Yeah. But speaking as far as the martial arts, what What did you just achieve something? Forgive me for forgetting.
Yes,
but
I in December 18th. He came. It was nice.
I was there.
I achieved my black belt in
oh,
Taekwondo.
okay. Oh,
So
congratulations.
this is what I'm saying. Thank you. This is the stuff you do when you're old. See, now I feel good when I did it.
Yeah.
As an old man, it actually has. There's actually more satisfaction. I was training. I was testing with 3 other people, and he will tell you all 3 of them were 15 years old.
Oh, wow.
So I was doing what 15-year-olds were doing, and at one point the teacher, we had a pre-test. He did not see the pre-test. It was 2.5 hours long.
Wow.
And he said, "You could stop sparring now. The kids that you're testing with are younger than the padding on your equipment." and I had a fight. I fought a guy. He was about 6'3". I have a picture of me and him. He's a 3rd-degree black belt, and I asked to spar him one last time because I feared him. And I wanted to overcome my fear. I figured I'd earn the black belt if I could overcome my fear. So I fought him, and we fought to a close match, and it was great. That's when I really achieved it. When he came and my family came, that was sort of a formality for friends and family.
Okay.
But that big test was a big deal. It was a really big deal, and it was a big deal for me. It was a bucket list thing.
Right.
And,
no, that's great, man. Congratulations.
Yeah.
And how does that work? So once you get the black belt, what do they put the stripes on now? Is that
No.
works?
Well, no. That would be if I were to get another degree. If you have a belt, and then let's say you're brown belt, then you become high brown. They'll put a black stripe.
Okay.
Candidate black, another stripe. But black, now you're black. But if it's 2nd degree, then you'll get a new belt with a gold stripe.
Oh, okay.
They're embroidered. It's got my name on it. It's so cool. Oh my God, it's so cool. I still didn't get laid from it. Didn't impress the wife.
Yeah. There's no point in anything.
There was no point, but
I was jealous. Who doesn't want to smack the shit out of a couple 15-year-olds? You know.
Well, yeah. I mean, did they cry when you smacked them? Like I'd be scared.
So limber.
Did their fathers come out and start attacking? Like I'd be like 15-year-olds.
They were so. I've sparred with 16-year-old girls. I'm a 220-pound man. Lifts weights. Yeah. I got my ass handed to me by 16-year-old girls because they're so limber. They're kicking over my head.
Wow.
Oh yeah. I mean, you can when you're that age, you know the martial arts are made for kids.
Right. Yeah.
But practical martial arts, you don't need to kick somebody. It'd be pretty cool if you're in the street, you did a spinning back hook in his head. But you kick him in the shin.
Right.
Except for you.
Yeah, you'll break your foot. Foot. I won't feel a thing.
Exactly. But yeah, so you can't defend that. How are you going to defend? Your leg. Yeah.
But I guess in comedy, then like the equivalent of that would be like having like a roast battle with like Mario or something.
Yeah, exactly. You know what? You mentioned Little Mario. Jimmy Kimmel was hosting. He did a great job with the Oscars, by the way.
Yes.
He did a great job.
Jimmy Kimmel's great.
Yeah, he's great. And I'm thinking, Mario roasted him.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
we were just talking about it. I think it was just yesterday on the show, or maybe Monday, just how Mario is starting to blow up on TikTok and Instagram and all that, whatever all that shit is. Like Snoop Dogg posted a video of Mario.
Oh, did he?
Yeah. So yeah, he's starting to blow up a little bit.
Cool.
But I'm glad you mentioned the Oscars because I saw. I get mad sometimes at the Oscars. There's this funny clip that's been out. Angela Bassett. She was up for some award.
We noticed it as it happened. Go ahead.
Yeah. And first of all, she looked fantastic.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yes.
She is gorgeous.
She looked great. The dress was nice.
But what was it? Best Supporting Actress, was it?
Yes.
Where she lost to Jamie Lee Curtis. But when they announced the name Jamie Lee Curtis, you see Angela Bassett sitting there. She's like rolling her eyes. She's getting all pissed off.
Yeah, you're supposed to put on a front.
Right.
Oh my God. Good for her. It'd be like seals clapping.
I don't know. I mean, to me that's a sign that you've kind of lost that you lost touch. You get to be an actor. You get to be an actor full time. You get to make all sorts of money. I mean, she's living the dream that so few get to achieve.
Yes, that's true. Absolutely.
So to the point then where you're not winning that statue, to me it's great to win it. Of course, it's great to win it. You'd like to win it.
It's human nature.
Yes.
It is, though.
But
I know, you're right.
To that point, though.
You know what, Tony? Yeah. It gets to that point. Her success is so built into her nervous system at this point and she was up for an award, and she is an accomplished actress and never got that
Oh, she's
statue.
never won
No,
anything?
I think that's the point. She never did, and they thought she was a lock. And she's saying, and let's face it, you're a woman in Hollywood. How old are you? Yeah. She's not young.
Oh, right.
So she figures, how many chances am I going to have?
Right.
You know what I mean? I mean, how many chances would Jamie Lee Curtis have too, for that matter?
Sure.
Right. So
sure.
She's probably surrounded by people that kiss her butt too, all the time when you're Angela Bassett, right? They're probably just like all day people telling you how great you are.
Yep.
Right.
But I guess, but to me that enhances my point even more. Like you have all these people, you're on TV, you get to enjoy your life, and you still need that.
Right.
You know, I mean, I hear what you're saying. I'm not disagreeing, but at the same time, it would be nice. Think about a lot of different celebrities where if they only they have all these yes people. If they only had the certain people that would keep them grounded. Like, and I think about Michael Jackson. Like he probably wouldn't have, if he did it. If he did what some people said he did, he probably wouldn't have done it. He wouldn't have been like taking all the drugs he was taking and doing all the crazy shit to his face. Like they all seem to be lacking one person that's going to ground them and say, hey.
I guess he was too. To tell you the truth, though, he was beyond ground. He was too famous, too young.
Yes,
that's fame. Did that
right? Oh, I agree 100%.
And you want to say, almost ironically, and maybe not so coincidentally, through Elvis's daughter, Elvis too was too famous.
Yes.
Do you know?
Yes.
I read all this whole thing about Elvis, things I didn't realize. He had a head injury. That's part of the problems that he incurred.
Really?
He had hurt himself in the army.
Oh, no kidding.
And then he hurt himself again. And remember, you would see him wearing these goggles when he met Nick. Yeah. He had glaucoma. He was going to be blind.
Oh, no kidding.
He was going to lose his eyesight completely.
Really?
Yeah.
I had never heard
he
that.
Had a host of, and besides being too famous, he had all these other problems. He just was, whatever life source put him on this earth and said, you're going to be this.
Right.
But you're going to have all this other stuff, and you know what? Flame on and flame out. And you're just going to go.
Right.
If he had all those problems, he by the way, wouldn't have sex with his wife after she gave birth.
Yes, I did hear that.
And then it turns out he had a gumada, as we like to say, for years, and she had an abortion and didn't tell him because she knew he would want the baby and would never have sex with her again and wouldn't be with her again.
Wow. So, how can you not ever have sex again with Priscilla Presley?
I know.
Oh my goodness.
When you're Elvis.
Yeah, well, true.
He's got Priscilla Presley's on,
True.
He got them lined up.
She still looked good into the Naked Gun movies.
Oh, she looked fantastic in that. Yeah. And then and she was on Dallas too. She looked I know a little too much Priscilla apparently. I'm just discovering that. But that's actually watching several years back when the Beatles anthology came out, that was one thing they talked about was how they were, I mean, talk about fame, right? But those guys, at least the four of them had each other to lean on. They were sharing the experience. Elvis he had his guys, but they weren't experiencing that.
It's
true.
So
I think that messed him up too. The fact that he was alone.
Well, I heard Bon Jovi say this, and he's in a band, so I wouldn't think. I guess maybe it even applies, maybe at least to some degree, that you're at the concert, you're John Bon Jovi. They name a service center after you in New Jersey, by the way. One of the rest stops, the John Bon Jovi rest. I mean, I
peed there.
I peed. I wish they had a John Bon Jovi urinal. You could just pee. I see. No, and then you're rocking, and the place is crazy, and they get you in the car, and the show's over, and they throw you in a room, and they lock the door, and you're in a hotel room. And you're not going to go down to the bar and start hanging out. You can't.
Right.
So he's it's too much fame. And you realize saying it, I can't really complain, considering my position in life. Right. But this is a condition of being me. And it's not always it's just being a human being. You're not always going to have, that is going to be roses. It's just not.
I went to a Yankee game early. We got there early. We're in the Bronx, and I remember Derek Jeter was walking in, and they have the city cops there, and they have these barricades up, and the players kind of walk through.
Right.
Some of them will stop and sign autographs.
Sure.
Some won't. Derek Jeter got there. It was like the Beatles in the '60s. The girls went crazy. They actually accidentally knocked one of the barricades over, and the cops had to help Derek Jeter get into the building because they just started coming through. Yeah. So I remember a friend of mine saying, "How could Derek Jeter break up with Mariah Carey?" And it's like. Derek Jeter.
Very easily.
Mariah Carey's probably average.
Right.
For like a guy like Derek Jeter.
Jeter slumming.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. But Jeter, and I'll explain this, but Jeter to me is, him and Paul McCartney, I've always kind of like in my head connected. These are two guys, at least publicly, seem like they're one of the two of few who've just always been even keeled. That seems to be just handle this crazy fame fine. Like, and they always seem to know what they're doing, and always seems to be thinking, 3 steps ahead, and they just seem to be okay.
Yeah, they do seem very.
And who knows if I'm right about that? Who knows what their private life is like? But that's just what it always seemed like, though.
And Paul McCartney is a Yankee fan, by the way.
Yeah, well, we won't hold that against him.
I know, but you would think he didn't even. Great Britain has a team in the World Baseball Classic.
Yes, I actually was just reading about that this morning.
Which is weird, but I don't know if how many of them are really from. Maybe they are from British heritage and they're American, but
right. Yeah, I didn't even look. I don't know who's on there.
Yeah,
anybody we know on the roster?
I caught one guy. I caught a little bit of it last night. I was funny to see Team Italy.
Yeah.
It was this guy Sullivan. There's a Lopez. There's a Fletcher. 3 guys. Those are 3 names. And it's funny, but gets you figure. Obviously, maybe whatever part Italian, but they're almost most of them are American. Right. But it's actually taking on and taking up. It's actually moving up in Italy. Believe it or not.
Oh, okay.
I was surprised.
Is Piazza still managing?
Oh yeah, he's Piazza. Yeah. He's the face of Team Italy.
I know. I think he lives there a lot of the time.
He moved to Italy.
That's his full-time residence.
Apparently, yeah.
Wow.
When he bought the soccer team, there's stuff on YouTube. You can watch it. He couldn't get a stadium built, and there's a video of Piazza on YouTube. It's like 20 minutes long.
Where he's getting all pissed off?
He's pissed. He's ripping the Italian government and the corruption.
I saw that.
It's awful. I've heard the government is awful.
Really?
But one woman, a tour guide, when we were in Italy, she said, I love my people. I love my country. The government is horribly corrupt.
Really?
If you work for the government, you're set for life. If not, you could be begging in the streets. It's an awful, and I think Mike Piazza is very conservative.
Yeah, he is.
It is.
Yeah.
So he would hate their government, but apparently it's pretty awful. It's great to be. I love being Italian. I love being Italian American, and that's somewhere I'm going to end it. I know. I love to visit there. It's a great. If they didn't have their tourism, I don't know what they'd have.
Oh yeah, yes, I've heard that.
Outside the Vatican.
I've heard that. Yeah.
So we saw that.
But yeah, I saw that video, and he gets more mad as it goes on. He doesn't. He doesn't get mad and then calm down. He just builds him, and he's even cursing.
Yeah.
I think it was like a press conference, right? So there's a room full of people, and he's cursing and carrying on.
Really,
it's really something. I'm surprised it wasn't like a bigger thing.
I think it was soccer, I guess, maybe.
Yeah, but just the fact that when you have somebody of his stature getting like that, you would think they'd be ripping it apart here.
Why is he living there then? I wouldn't want to live in a place where I thought the government was horrible and corrupt.
Yeah, I don't know if he's still there. I don't know if he had supposedly retired to Florida or something. I think.
Oh yeah.
But then he did move to Italy when he bought the soccer team.
Jeez. All right. Well, speaking of baseball, did you do the camp?
I have not done it. I didn't do it because of my knee. I don't know if I'm going to be going back. It's a lot of money.
Yeah, it is a lot of money.
It's my brother though was the MVP of his team. Todd Pratt and Mackie Sasser were his coaches, and he won. He got a trophy for most valuable player for his team.
Nice.
Yeah. And I still actually practice with Kevin Baez, former Met, who was one of the coaches there, and he runs a practice on Long Island.
He's still in the Ducks organization, right?
No, Wally Backman replaced him.
No kidding.
So he moved up. He became the manager of the Rockland Boulders, and then 9/11 hit. And they wanted to cut his pay, and he wasn't going to go for it. He won the league with the Ducks.
Oh yeah,
he
right.
was a champion. He's a great. I got to tell you something. He's a great idiot. If he can get me to have a decent swing, no, and he did. I actually don't have a bad swing. People, and it's from him.
Oh, that's cool.
But the Rockland Boulders, I think, may have even gone under, or they couldn't pay him, or whatever it was, and he was just like, I'm not doing that.
Oh,
he gives lessons, and this 2 weeks from now, I'm going to be on a Saturday. I'm going to be in a basement in Brooklyn with a bunch of old men who study baseball, and it's a baseball meeting that they have once a year, and I'm now a member.
Really?
I had a fan of mine got me in last year, and there's a priest, a father, who who was Kevin Baez's mentor when he was a kid, coincidentally. Kevin Baez is from Brooklyn, who gives out worksheets comparing and contrasting the times. He gave out a sheet with 2 different first basemen. Compare and contrast. Guy A, number A, guy A, guy B. Who are they? Didn't want to say the name, and at the end it was Keith Hernandez and Don Mattingly.
Right.
And he gave a whole comparison of the two of them.
And Hernandez came out on top, right?
You know what? But they were so different. They were different.
Yeah, okay.
You know what I mean? But it was so interesting. The history of the game and how people love it. You know,
and that's the whole day? It's just doing stuff like that, right?
I go in the it's in a rectory basement.
Wow.
Is that food?
Yes. They specifically told me not to invite you.
Damn.
As long as you don't bring Williamson, we've seen him.
I have an experience with the Ducks. I sumo wrestled in between innings at a Ducks game. I did. I wore one of those big rubber.
Yeah.
Are you sure it was a suit?
Yeah. It was tight. I knew I had a problem. The suit was tight. But I had to put this thing on in the visiting team's dugout. That's where I was getting it on.
Yeah.
And I mean,
I think I know the shoulder injury source now, yeah.
These guys aren't major leaguers, but they're great athletes.
Sure.
Some of them were major league one time. And they're just staring at me with disgust as I'm trying to get this sumo suit on. And I was wrestling like a tech guy, and he kicked my ass.
Oh, wow.
He knocked me down. It took 4 people to get me back on my feet. To go, it lasted like 30 seconds, and it was over, and I was ashamed.
What he's not telling you is that for some people it's a sumo outfit. For him, it was a wife beater. He doesn't want to say that.
I did Quackerjack for 1 game.
Oh, yeah?
Did you really?
Awful.
Really?
It was their first season, so that's, 99 or 2000, whatever it was. Because I'll never forget, I don't know if you guys recall, when the Ducks, when it was official, they were coming and they built the stadium, they put out a full-page ad in the newspapers. It was a help wanted ad for everything.
Yeah.
Hot dog vendors, ushers, and even the mascot. So I submitted my name, and they said, okay, they got in touch with me, and they said, okay, we have somebody, but he will need a fill-in occasionally. Can we put you on the list? I was like, all right. They were maybe going for maybe a month, and they called me up. So it was May. It was towards the end of May. They said, we need you on whatever day. I was like, all right. And I had no experience with it.
Right.
But I go there.
No mascot experience?
And they just said, all right, this is what you got to do. Here, you got to do this, you got to do at this time. You got to, and they have people that walk you through and take you around. But now I understand it's different, where you put these things on and they have fans inside of them, and this wasn't the case back then.
Yeah, no.
I sweat my ass off. It was torture, and it got so hot that it fogged up, and I about halfway through the game I couldn't even see anymore. Literally, I couldn't see, and I remember telling one of the kids that would leave, because it was constant. You had to be in between each inning. You had to be part of some game like sumo wrestling. You had to be somewhere. So during the actual game, during the inning, is when you're walking from one spot where you just did something. Now you got to walk over and be there, in time for the next. And in between that, taking pictures with kids and saying hi and doing all this stuff. And I remember grabbing a kid that was helping me out. Said, I can't see, man. I need your help. I can't see. Okay, no problem. I got you. And I think it was the 7th inning. It was when you race a kid around the bases. I mean, there were points where I'm like, I hope I'm not in left field. I mean, I really couldn't see. And the funny part, although it's not funny, but we laugh about it now. When I tell the story all the time, I couldn't see. It was the 9th inning, and I felt a kid was tugging on my leg. The kids are always looking to take pictures, say hi, but I couldn't see, so I had no depth, perception. So I bend over to say hi to the kid, and my beak, bam, smacks the kid right up. And I was like, oh no, and you can't, you're not allowed to talk. So I couldn't say sorry to the kid. I'm just like, and off I go. I don't know if I hurt the kid or not. This kid might be,
funny.
This kid might be paralyzed from the neck down now, for all I know. But it was.
Oh, that's nice.
I remember Tim Hamayun, Long Island comic. He's out in California now. He had a story where he had to wear a costume like that, and he didn't realize when he walked out, he had the costume on backwards, right? So the tail looked like his penis.
That's fantastic. Holy shit, that's great. And I was in that costume for 6 hours. the pay was $50. Wow. I was like, never again, never again.
It's not even minimum
It's like
wage.
$8 an hour.
Yep. And it took me a year and a half to get that $50.
Wow.
Yeah.
Are you kidding?
Yeah. I was pissed. After a while, I was like, all right, it's just a principle thing. Where the fuck is my $50? Like, I was mad.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it got to the point where I called the guy every day just to be a dick. I did that for probably like 2 months. Called him every day.
What was their explanation?
No, it's coming. I never got an explanation. It's coming. Don't worry. I did. It was weird. They were Ducks employees, but they were part of some other parent company or outside company. They also handled the Rough Riders, the soccer team that plays over here. So 2 weeks after I did the Duck, they needed me to be Teddy Roosevelt at the soccer game, and I said it to him. I said, look. I said, after what you put me through at the Ducks, I said, I don't think I'm interested. And they said, no, it's a lot lower key. It's not going to be as bad. And it wasn't as bad. But I went at one point to go pee, and of course they score a goal. So I come out, and the guy's yelling at me. They scored a goal. Where were you? I had to pee. What am I? I didn't know. So it wasn't a good experience. But playing Teddy Roosevelt, they paid me a week later. But the Ducks, I had to wait a year and a half. It was really strange.
And it's the Ducks. You figure that they're an established franchise
right
on Long Island. They're actually, you figure, I don't know if they're profitable, but they must be doing something right. They're around like 20 years.
They're sold out a lot too. I mean, it seems like they're sold out a lot.
Yeah.
I was at a Ducks game when I sumo wrestled. I was with this company and we were in this booth behind home plate. And they have like a net up behind the plate.
Yeah.
But this luxury box was like right above the net. So this guy, Nick, he's standing there and he's just kind of like looking around. And I guess they threw a fastball. The guy fouls it straight back. And Nick is kind of looking around doing one of these, like hit him right between the legs. And you heard it was like that when it hit him. Me? He ended up having to go to the hospital. Yeah. And my nephew, I got my nephew with me. He was sitting, it like went over. Like, thank God it hit Nick in the balls. Like my nephew in the head. It went like over him. But you don't realize how hard these guys hit the ball and stuff at a Ducks game.
Was it Nick Ho?
No, it wasn't Nick.
I went to a Met game with Nick Ho.
Yeah,
it was after the game, and I get I get good parking because of the leg, So people always ask me to go to games because but you're driving, right? Yeah, I'll drive.
Oh shit!
Yes.
Anyway, I wasn't even thinking that.
We can leave Mike Dillon home this year.
So we're parked right there, and they got the porta potties right out there. So I think I have video of this. He goes into the porta potty, and so I move my car. And I got him on video. He comes out, you see him kind of. And then it was quick. I honked the horn. He found us, but it made me laugh. But
I love the porta potty stuff on Jackass. That's always the best. Guy goes and sits on the toilet and it explodes. Yeah.
Well, to this day, the funniest thing ever was the golf.
Oh yeah, when they're making noise.
Yes, when they blow the bullhorn.
Yeah. One guy threw his club at them, and he started hitting golf balls at them.
But that makes me think of the Little Rascals, though. The golf episode with the monkey, remember? The little monkey, the one that makes all the weird noises.
No. I'm not up on Little Rascals.
All right, never mind. Never mind.
People love it. I never was.
Really, you never loved the Little Rascals?
No, I never watched them much. So I never developed an interest.
Wow.
So
Abbott Costello for me.
I had them a little bit when I was younger. I loved I Love Lucy.
Oh yeah.
I thought I Love Lucy was and you know what's funny? It seems so old, and it really when I was watching them when you were a baby. I was like 9 or 10. And it looked so old because it was in black and white, and they had the beehive hairdos. And
right.
It was very old-fashioned looking. Mm-hmm. But it looked that old-fashioned then. Right. But it was only like 20 years before. I mean, Seinfeld is off the air longer than I Love Lucy when it was off the air when I was watching it.
Wow.
No, because it was only like I was watching it in the early 70s. That was on in the 50s.
Right.
But it seemed like it was first of all, it was in black and white.
Right.
Which it looked ancient.
Yeah. Does it bother you when you start to see this stuff like the music in 1980 was closer to World War II than it is to today and things like that?
Yeah, I do that in my head. Oh, the math?
Right.
The time lapse?
Yeah.
Oh, I do the time lapse math. I do it all the time. Oh my God.
Insane, man. It does. It freaks me out a little bit how fast it all goes. It's crazy.
Yeah, but that's it. And you only realize that when you have to be of a certain age.
Yeah.
Until then, you can understand it intellectually, but you don't experience it.
Yes.
When you're ripping off decades of adulthood, decades,
Yep.
when you were technically an adult, and then somebody's going, I was born in 1997, or I was born in 1995, and oh my God, I'm like 27. I'm like, I'm pushing 30.
Right.
I'm going to be 28. Oh my God, I'm old.
How about some of these new comics that open, like Joe Crovella, a great kid, right? He's like 21.
Well, yeah, well,
he's
there you
younger
go.
than my son. He's 2 years younger than
yeah.
my son.
Yeah,
Yep.
sure.
I was talking to some of those guys, Cravella, LaRocco. This is probably about a year ago. We were just bullshitting, and Jackie's name came up. And they knew Jackie was, so we're just having this conversation. And then I forget who else was part of the conversation, but somebody said something about Stern. And LaRocco, you see, he was kind of looking confused. So I called him out. I go, what's the matter? He was, Jackie was on Stern?
Wow.
Like, he knew Jackie from the club and comedy and being the joke man, but he didn't know. Because he was probably, I'm not even sure if he was born when Jackie left that show.
Yeah, it was early 2000s.
Right. Maybe, yeah, right.
That's what it hit me. I was like, holy shit. Blew me away.
I have this Abbott and Costello thing, and young comics, when it comes up, they're kind of like, yeah, I've kind of heard of them. Of them.
Yeah.
I'm like...
That's sad.
Well,
Yeah.
we were I was helping out. I showed up once in a while just to sort of throw ideas out on Stand Up University.
Oh, okay,
with
yeah.
Rich and Steve, with Rich Walker and Peter Bales, and also Steve Lazarus used to be. He's not there now, but and there was a reference made to an old comic legend, and they looked at this kid and they said, "Do you know who that is?" And he said, "No."
Wow.
And it was Jackie Gleason. He didn't know who Jackie Gleason was, and it was just like,
oh my goodness.
Well, yeah, but you know what? It's time is moving faster and faster in terms of its disposability. It is going, it just you get replaced really quickly.
Right. Do you think it's important that these guys know the history, or do you think it doesn't matter at this point?
I think as far as comics, right? Funny is funny. I like to listen to like. I didn't grow up like when I first got into comedy. I didn't really realize like Woody Allen did stand up. So I watched some Woody Allen. I watched like Red Fox, back in like the 60s. And
sure.
Like Richard Pryor was a clean comic at one time, right? And George Carlin were clean comics at one time.
They were on a summer replacement show. I'm going to throw a name out. You guys are too young. You may know who he is. There was a guy, he was a peaches and cream looking actor, and he was the host of the variety show. And he had dimples. His name was John Davidson. Not the goalie.
He replaced when they threw Mike Douglas's show off the air. They threw in John Davidson. Yeah, I remember John Davidson.
I don't know if you know who he is.
I know of him, but I don't really know his stuff.
He was so handsome guy. He was but I mean, oh shucks.
Yes.
That kind of guy. And Richard Pryor and George Carlin were comics on. They did little. I don't know if they did skits or guest spot on this show.
Wow.
And it's just like Richard Pryor and George Carlin are on a John Davidson show.
Right.
Yeah.
It's so.
I got to look for that. That's funny.
You know always look for the George Carlin documentary that was on HBO.
Oh,
that's where I saw it.
Oh,
and I
okay.
said it couldn't be more ironic to have those two guys
Right.
on a show with him. But at the time, they were very mainstream, and it was a time for that. They were funny people, and they played to a certain audience, and after a while, they just couldn't take it anymore.
Right.
And I find it might not have helped my comedy, but it helped me feel like I'm part of something a lot bigger than me. Like I'm, writing jokes. Like we just watched the clip with Seinfeld yesterday. That was great. He was talking kind of like the obsession of joke writing. How he's always looking for a bit 24/7.
Right.
That's what you should do. And you know what? I admit it. That I wish I was doing that. I mean, 24/7. And he's right. You know what it is? I think sometimes you wonder, can I do it?
Right.
Can I make is it possible for me to make anything funny? Or so I think that's sometimes the mind I don't want to use the word, but just to say the mind game of comedy is so amazing.
Oh,
You're out there by yourself. You have to develop your own stuff.
Yep.
You have to battle your ego, other people's egos, as we were talking about.
Right.
It's this whole thing. And the idea of it's you, I don't want to say against, but theoretically it could be you against hundreds of people at a time.
Yeah, well, yeah, I guess that's the right mindset to have.
I don't know if it's no, I don't. But theoretically, it has to be in the back of your mind because you have to be in control.
Right.
So it's
And you have to win them over.
yeah. I mean, and the thing is, but the confidence that takes,
Right.
and whatever, and the idea that humor can be so subjective. You're playing on this ocean of stability that's not really stable. It's an
Right.
ocean. It's
Yeah.
water. I mean, that's what you're playing on. It's like a waterbed. You know, you may have your jokes, you may have your things, or you may think you know something is funny, but you know, you have to throw all that stuff out there, and you need to get it out, and a ton of it too.
Right.
You have to be kind of fearless too, because
Right.
that's a lot of people say to me. It's just like I think I'm funny, but I could never get up on stage and do that.
Right.
Because you're getting judged. People hate to be judged, right?
Right.
And you're getting judged every minute you're on stage. Every joke is either going to get a laugh or not get a laugh, right?
Yep.
You're just constantly getting reviewed as it's going along.
Right.
You know what they say? You talk about that. We were talking about baseball. The Mets have a couple of new broadcasters in the radio booth.
Right.
Keith Rebb and McCarthy. McCarthy's son, whose first name Andrew, I forgot his name. He's Mets used to have a broadcaster, Pete McCarthy, and he moved onto the TV booth of the Phillies. His son is now going to do the pre and post game for the Mets, and Keith Rebb is a new announcer. And they were talking about it on the baseball broadcast on TV, and they were trying to give the new guys some advice. And this is what they told them. Don't look at social media.
Oh, wow.
And this is now you're looking at guys who got the job, who they feel are competent and doing good. Just don't look.
Right.
It's not worth it.
Yep. When I was here on Sunday, there was a woman right in the front, just a real grouch, and, you know, like constantly just kind of messing with her food and not even looking up. And, you know, you got this, and the room was full. I mean, I was telling you, you know, there was, 53 comics. So, you know,
right.
I guess between everybody, they brought enough people in. Plus, there were fundraisers, so it was a packed room. Everybody was in a good mood, and this woman was driving me nuts. Like you almost, it's weird to me. Like a lot of comics say it. Like, you know, you can't just enjoy the fact that everybody else is out there having fun. It's just this woman right here.
But don't get.
I know, but
it's not worth it.
I hear you.
But it's not. It's just it's human nature, and it's just common sense that not everybody is either going to enjoy you or having an enjoyable experience that it doesn't need to do with you.
Right.
Right. Hey, do you know what I find even harder than that? I can understand that because humor is subjective, and you have to get that in your head. You have to get that in your head and your soul in order to go out there with the confidence that you're going to need. You need not to get thrown by one person. It's not worth it.
Right.
But what throws me more is when I look down and the food comes. Now that's a problem because it's not just one person.
Right.
And comic versus food wins.
Oh, absolutely,
so
food wins.
That's the harder part for me.
Yep.
Is to deal with people eating dinner. I understand it's their job. Our job is to give them an excuse to come here and buy liquor and food.
Right.
How about like the check spot? That was always the other one, right?
Yeah,
They start dropping the checks.
Yes.
You're in the middle of a bit,
Right,
like,
right.
all right, you owe me 20, you owe me 30.
Yep.
You know.
When I book my murder mystery shows, I always say that to the client. I said, if it's possible, have dinner come out first, and then we'll come out when dinner's done.
Absolutely.
And it has to, and I tell them and please just have it come out as early as possible because nothing is worse than a crowd that's waiting for their food. They get mad.
Right.
And reflects on everything.
You know what happens to you work at a club like Governors, right? We always, Eric and I always say this. This is like the Yankee Stadium of comedy clubs.
Yep.
This is, everybody's played here. But then, like, we go on the road. Like, I was just in, I was in the Catskills, and there were 3 comics on the show, right? And they've never run a comedy show. He said, so after every comic, we're going to take a 15-minute break.
Oh, my goodness.
And as the host, right, I talked them out of it. you know. But sometimes when you're at a place where they don't normally do comedy, there may be a lot of people, but if it's not run well, it could be really hard.
What was their reasoning for wanting to do that?
They wanted to sell drinks, more drinks. So I said, well, have the waitresses going through the crowd. I said, we talked about it. I basically told them you're going to kill the flow of the show if you do that. And eventually they agreed with me, but that's I always say that, like hosting for these young guys. I saw Joe Cravella just hosted the other day. There's so much other stuff going on when you're hosting a show.
Where did he host?
I think he hosted here.
Really?
I saw, or Brokerage maybe.
Maybe he's got a couple of years in now, right?
Yeah, about 2 years. Yeah,
I think it was the Brokerage actually. Yeah.
Okay, 2 years. Good. Okay.
Cravella and LaRocco. I'm telling you, those are the two guys. And Tom McGuire. Those three guys, they're gonna move. They're moving up.
But I would tell them, like, because I've hosted a million shows, right? You've got to be ready. You're worried about your set, right? But now Peter Bale said to me, you're like going up cold, right? So that's the first. You might not be used to that, right? If you've done shows and you go on third or fourth or whatever. Right. So now you're going up to a cold crowd.
Right. Then, you have to set that tone now.
And then there's all that other stuff going on. The waitresses going, how much longer do you think is the show going to go on? Comics. Oh, am I going here? I want to go here. Like dealing with the comics. Like you kind of deal with everything as the host of the show.
Yeah, being a host is so important.
Right.
Right? I mean,
does someone need to be lit? You know, a lot of them want to be introduced a certain way. Like, you have to keep all that stuff in mind.
The idea of going up there cold, because when we used to do Rick Morgan's room on a Thursday night, the Thursday Night Comics, that's where we cut our teeth. And right out of our comedy class, we were working for Rick Morgan like a month later.
Wow.
And every Thursday, we wound up getting audiences. And I was hosting a lot, and I would hear, put me on 7th. What are you talking about?
Right. Well, that's one of the things I like.
Put me on first. I go, don't worry, I'm first.
Right. But that's what I like here. James, when you host, at least when I host, I don't know if he does this with everybody. I'm assuming he does. He sits me down about 10 minutes before the show. All right, this one, then this one. Then, like, he tells me what order he wants.
No, that's right.
And I'm like, thank God.
No, that's right. No, they want it. That makes sense. But we were running an open mic, so it wasn't that big a deal.
Oh, okay.
But it was Rick let us do our thing.
We'd have 25 people come down to this open mic.
We had 27 one time. We guys coming from Westchester.
Wow.
To Medford.
Yeah.
How's that? That's how.
Shit.
And it wound up. It died out, but we were called the Thursday Night Comics. There was a group of us, and it was 6 or 7 of us, and we were guaranteed to get on every night because we wound up establishing the room.
Yeah.
And it was for the first year and a half of our comedy career. That was one. And then Rick, one night a week was that. And then Rick was running the club, and he would give us spots. He would give us spots, and we're hosting. We wouldn't get paid a lot, and whatever. Right. We didn't care.
Yeah.
So we had a comedy club we were working at relatively within 6-7 months of taking the class. We were working in a comedy club.
Yeah. We hung out with Robert Klein there one night.
Yeah, right. One night Robert Klein ended up getting there. Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah, we weren't on the show.
No, but we were there.
Yeah.
Took a picture with him.
Mike Dillon opened for Gabriel Kaplan. We were doing comedy a couple of years. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So we had invaluable experience, and we always owe Rick for that. And these guys are getting their experience now. This way, good for them. I'm glad.
And they made it. Not that they've made it like Seinfeld, but I think the hardest part is getting stage time your first couple of years. Like we had guys that created stage time in bars and stuff that helped, but
there's still a lot of that.
It only helps so much.
Yeah.
Right.
That can be negative stage time after a while. So it's not really indicative of a good show.
Not to be a snob about it, but I the bar shows, I can't do them. I can't. I've done them. I've done a few, and between the TVs and the drinks and and you're crowded in just some corner of the room trying to do comedy.
I still do
it's
sometimes.
Tough. Yeah.
And I go with the theory of if 3 people at the bar laugh, I probably got something. And if they don't laugh, it doesn't mean it's bad. But if I get something out of it, then I'll bring it to like a show.
Yeah, it's the whole thing though for me. It's not just the show. It's you're crowded with 10 other comedians in the back room. And, you're in everybody's way. Like you're standing by the bathrooms or you're standing by the kitchen, and you're just in everybody's way. And then you have games on TV and you have drunk people talking. Like it's just, to me, it's too much.
The first set I ever did was with Eric with Peter and Rich in Levittown over 23 years ago.
April 24th, 2000 was our first.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's cool.
My second show was at a bar in Bayshore called Porky and Glenn's or something, and they had the Yankee game on. They wouldn't shut the TV. I get it. But everybody wants that Governor's show where it's a sold out crowd. But yeah, how many people are? We took a class. I think Eric, myself, and Joey Petroni are the only three that are still doing comedy.
Right.
23 years later.
And that's actually a lot.
Yeah.
That's actually a lot considering a class is maybe X 8, 10 people, whatever it is.
Right.
That's actually a lot.
Oh yeah, I took Trusen's class in 2020, and I think there's only one other guy that's still Mike Tanzi. He's the only guy that's other than me that's still doing it a little bit. Yeah.
Did you find the class helpful?
Very.
Yes, of course.
Very.
Sure. And though people say, "Oh, you can't teach comedy," well, they're not teaching you.
They're not giving you the material to go up and say.
And also, it's not. Derek Jeter took batting lessons.
Right.
That doesn't mean that if you take a batting lesson, you're Derek Jeter.
Right.
Or whomever. Not that we're comparing any of us to the comedic version of Derek Jeter. What I'm saying is, we were. You have to learn the basics somehow.
Right.
And taking a class is a good idea.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
all.
how to frame a joke. And it's more to it. You learn about timing, and you learn, what not to do and what to do when you're up there on the stage. There's more to it than just walking up there and talking. So, no, I loved the class, loved it. And I want to get in with Bales and Walker and check out their show. Mostly, their class, mostly because of Bales, not so much because of Walker.
That's for me, the most fun part is writing. I like coming up with ideas and writing. Like that's what I love about the classes.
Yeah, sure.
Sometimes you might help somebody else with a joke in class.
Yeah,
you feel like you're on a comedy writing team or something.
Yeah, yeah. There was some of that. I remember. Yeah, there was one guy I'll never forget. This guy was, and I've told this here on the show before. There was some kid. He insisted on being like so filthy. This was probably the most vile, vulgar shit I've ever heard. and I'll be honest, that's not my style.
Right, not mine either.
It's easy in my opinion. You can go. There's so many obvious things you can do if you're going dirty. There was one thing that he said that I thought was actually kind of clever. He had a whole thing about gang bangs but he said something about if it's 25 guys, but then you end up falling in love with the girl and you're like, number 14, you still have to watch, 11 other guys banging the girl you fall in love with. But this kid, and we're in this class with this guy, so, you're watching him be vulgar every week and like, oh, son of a bitch. And then we did the shows. But now, when I was in Trusen's class, we were the last class before the quarantine. In fact, our first graduation show was at the brokerage. It was the last show before the quarantine, and I was the last one to go up.
Wow! I remember you said that.
Yeah, so I at first I'm like, oh, I made history. I was the last guy to perform at the brokerage. Meanwhile, I had people saying, no, you're the COVID of comedy. You got shut down all because of you. But so then we reconvened after the pandemic. So I'm like, oh, fuck, I got to hear this kid again. Because then we had to have our graduation shows. So we did it here. And he goes out there and vile. And the audience is like, oh, that's all we're hearing from the green. A week later, we did it because I think we did 2 more graduation shows after the pandemic. So we did that one, and it was so disgusting. The following Sunday, we were back here again, and his parents were in the audience. Completely changed his set. Not even a curse word, and he was fantastic.
Really?
And I remember thinking, wow, he was funny, but also just being impressed that within a week's time, he had a completely different set, and it killed. And I haven't seen the kid since. Wow. It's so weird to me that, who knows? Everybody has a different story, and who knows, where they go, why they do things, but I ended up being really impressed with this kid.
Well, he mentioned it, and it's true, and I think it is interesting as far as talking about developing yourself as a comedian. You had mentioned Richard Pryor being clean. George Carlin was also very mainstream. They developed themselves a certain way, and then their skill was so developed when they went to change direction, or to expand, rather, their direction, they were able to because they worked so hard even to be a clean comic, which is harder to do.
I think so, yeah.
George Carlin tells stories. He was in Vegas in 1969, and he said, People say to me, George, you don't have no ass. I says, yeah, I ain't got no ass, and blah blah blah. And he said, and because he said ass, they paid him off. They canceled the rest of the engagement. They paid him off, and it was like $10,000, which you would love now. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
And paid him off. Then the next year he came back and he got fired because he said, people say, he's talking about the word shit. He says,
right.
He says, pimp guys say, Red Fox will say shit. I won't say shit. I'll smoke some of it, but I won't say it. And for that, he got fired.
Wow.
In 1970. He got fired. And it shows you, and we're thinking of the 70s being, protests in Vietnam.
Right.
And all this, you'd think it would be more sophisticated. But for a Vegas audience who was much older at the time, that was enough to get fired.
Wow. Meanwhile, you have every comedian saying that now,
Well, I never say it. I try not to.
Same. You know, it was Bales and Stand Up U when we were new kind of said, if you want to work more, be cleaner. Because you can work like the Knights of Columbus Hall and that kind of, those kind of venues. Mm-hmm. I was thinking about, you're talking about like the kids' parents came. I remember I was bombing one night, and I remember, my father sitting in the crowd. He was at the show. But it brought me back to, I was in high school. I was playing right field, and I made 2 errors in right field. And I remember looking at the bench, and my dad was on the bench like that, right? So now it's decades later. I'm on stage having a bad night, and I see my dad with that same pose,
That's perfect. That is the same exact feeling when you're bombing on stage, being playing little league or high school ball, and you make a big error. It's the same exact feeling.
Yeah.
I never put the two together.
But you can't do this,
right?
Because you're on stage.
Yeah.
Or people blame the audience. They'll blame. The audience.
Right. Yeah.
I had one time. I had a crowd, and it was 2006. 2006. And there are leaders in the audience. There are laugh leaders.
Oh, okay.
There are people who set the tone.
Yep,
for
agreed.
the response.
Mm-hmm.
And there was this woman and a couple other people. And she was a cop. And I had a joke about a fat cousin. And the joke was that he says people talk about the miracle of childbirth. He says it's a miracle. My little baby, his little thing it's a miracle. I said, Anthony, you're 450 pounds. The only miracle is you got laid to begin with. and she said, that's not nice. That's how she said it.
Wow.
Right in the front. People were going, oh.
Yeah.
And she would go, oh. And I was working with a headliner then, and I came off. I go, they're going to start ooh. And you know what? He actually said on stage, yeah, you guys are going to ooh. And it never happened again.
Wow.
And not necessarily, I don't really do that joke anymore, but I got a lot of oohs, and it never. And I says, I want to see. Now, that audience found, and I'm not dirty, but found that to be scary. I just found it to be a little too much for them. They weren't moaning at me. They weren't groaning, but they were a little taken aback.
Yeah.
And it happened exactly 0 times since. But that night, that was the reality.
Which I can understand to a certain degree, because you and I talk about Joey Cola. We should just change the title of the show to the Joey Cola Tribute or something, because I talk about him so much. But you guys are kind of in the same vein as far as like style and just. In fact, I said it to Richie Byrne the other day, and you're the same way. What I love about Richie Byrne, what I love about Joey Cola, I love about you, it's watching you guys on a stage is the same as just hanging out in my house or at a bar talking to a buddy. You guys make us feel so comfortable. But that's one of the attractions too, because you guys don't do a lot of that kind of thing where you're making fun of somebody. No, there's a lot of talking about yourself.
Right.
Right.
I'm not big on.
Right.
Or if I make fun of, I'll make fun of a cruise ship crew, a group of people that are on cruise ships that they're.
And that's different.
But there's nobody.
Right.
It's not.
So I kind of understand that woman. Like if that woman had seen you before, or she came to that show particularly to see you, that's probably unexpected. Not necessarily might not be a bad thing, but it, but I can see where maybe they're taken surprise by that.
Yeah, but it never happened. I did that joke for maybe a year. It never happened like that.
Right.
And it wasn't just that joke. I remember that was her response. Pointed response.
Wow.
And I mean, I don't get chided or I don't get scolded by the audience for the most part.
But
who does? But she was gonna.
And it's funny though when she does that, how quickly they all become, or a lot, or some of them will become that. Like they won't bounce back from that so fast.
Right. It becomes. I'm telling you, it's a group thing.
Yeah.
And that's part of what is good about a theater show, as opposed to doing a show, because I've done them now.
Yeah.
And they can be tough. They can be good, but they can be tough. We're doing a show in somebody's house.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
You do a party, they all know each other.
Yep.
And you're the stranger. Mm-hmm. When you're in a theater or a club, they're out. This is an event. They don't know anybody except for their immediate friends. Mm-hmm. And this is a big place, and there's a lot of people, and this is going to be. There's an implication it's going to be a good show.
Right.
And you come out, and you're in charge, and you're the host, and you're the man, and you're the one that's going to guide them on a great night.
Yeah.
But if we're sitting around with drinks.
Right.
And hey, Aunt Angie, could you pass the pasta fazola? And now I show up with a microphone. Who the hell are you?
Yes. That's the worst. Doing a private party when they don't know you're coming, that's the worst.
Shut the music off. We're going to have comedy. Everybody's going to stop dancing.
Right, exactly.
That's the
the worst.
This time I had to do a wedding. Most money I ever got for a gig. I had to do a wedding, and nobody knew. Including the bride. Nobody knew.
Oh, including the bride and groom?
The father hires. He goes, and this is how they found out. Yeah, I thought it'd be good to have a comedian come on. Here he is, Eric Tagalon. That was my introduction. That's how everybody found out comedy was here. At a wedding.
Oh my god! And how long? How much time did you have?
I had to do a torturous half an hour. Ooh. And what happens is I'm standing there and I could feel myself squeezing the microphone, and I go 29 minutes and 30 seconds. Yeah. And I was actually counting it down. I was looking at the thing. I was like, oh god. And I had to go to table trying to talk to people. Ooh. And can you imagine? And this is what they think they can do with comedians.
Right.
That they could just drop you in the middle of somewhere.
Yep.
I did a surprise this summer. It was for a high school graduation. So it was me by myself with a little boom box, right?
Right.
I was in the backyard with a bunch of high school kids and like assorted aunts and uncles sprinkled in, you know. And it ended up being good, but you got to like walking in, you got to not keep telling yourself how bad it's going to be.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
Yes.
what you do.
It's true.
You just go, when is it over? When is it over?
Yep.
When is it over? When is it over? When is it over?
Yep.
This is going to suck. This is going to suck. And inevitably it happens, because I'm going to tell you, I have a party Saturday. Hope it's going to be good. You never know. But I had one of the main thrills of my life was headlining here. It was the second time I did it. It was on Labor Day weekend in 2019. And I was upset because they gave me that weekend and it was only 2 shows instead of 3. They're only doing 2 shows now.
Right.
There was Friday and not 2 Saturday, just 1 Saturday because it was Labor Day weekend.
Right.
But because there was only 1 Saturday, the place was packed. I headlined this is where I took my class. I headlined a sold out. There was 1 table open, so I'll call it a sold out Governors.
Absolutely.
A sold out Governors.
Yep.
And Jimmy looked at me and goes, do an hour, and walked away. And who's hosting? The man that taught me comedy, Peter Bales, happened to pick up.
Oh, wow.
It was the greatest thing. I actually did it, and it was so fantastic, and it was such a dream. And the next week, I pull up to the hall and I go, oh, this is going on. And I went in and people were like, and it was in a hall. It was at some event, and I had children running between my legs. And I go, oh, comedy gods.
Yes.
You thought you thought I was going to think that I was on my way.
Not so fast.
You're trying to spot, but I knew you were coming.
Yep.
I knew it was coming.
I did a murder mystery in a hotel. What year? It was probably like 2010, give or take. It was a hotel. They have their banquet rooms, whatnot. They decided to put on a murder mystery. They were advertising on the radio. They really pushed the shit out of it. sold out, 200 people, and they give us a bridal suite, as a green room, and we're like, this is it. We're top of the world. We're on our way. The very next night, we were hired to do like a customized, like a roast for a kid that was turning 30. This dump bar that barely holds 60 people. They wanted us. The mother, the kid's mother, hired us, and she gave us all this info on him. He loves pirates. He loves drumming. He loves drinking. And there were a couple other things, and that's what she said. So so do what you want with this. So we were coming in dressed as pirates, right? We had a whole bunch of stuff planned, but it was this dive bar, like I said, could barely hold 60 people, no dressing room or anything. We're getting changed into these pirate outfits outside behind the dumpsters, and we're joking. We're like, just last night we're in this hotel, king of the world. And now, the very next night, we're behind dumpsters. And then we go in, same thing. We go in, nobody knew except the mother that we were coming, not even the birthday boy. And we bring him up, and we're starting, and he's just standing there. And he's not laughing at anything. We're doing all this pirate stuff. We're doing drumming. We're talking. We're about maybe 10 minutes in, and I'm getting mad at this point. And I'm kind of hosting, and I just go right up to him on the mic. I go, do you relate to any of this stuff we're talking about? And he goes, no. I said, you don't like pirates? He goes, no. I go, are you a drummer? No. And what was it? I go, are you a drinker? He goes, well, I like to drink. He goes, but, I'm not like, he goes, I'm not a connoisseur or anything. So I did. I had like the fake, parrot. I had the whole thing. I ripped it off. I ripped the mask, like the eye patch off. I was like, screw it. We're not doing any of this. And I did crowd work for 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I think it went well. I found out that his fiance was there and his ex-fiance was there. I found that he smokes weed with his parents. So this guy, luckily he was giving me some good stuff to have some fun with.
Should have done menage a trois.
Yeah, of course. I was like, the girlfriend and the ex-fiance. I was like, of course, just having going all sorts of directions. But at the time, in your head, you're in panic mode. What the hell am I going to say? What am I going to do? How am I going to keep this going? When is this over? It's crazy.
You talk about the crowd getting comfortable too, like making them comfortable, like you're not going to attack them or whatever and make fun of them. So I won't do the bit, but I started doing this bit about online dating, and I met this one girl that was kind of nice, and I found out she has herpes, right? So didn't kiss her goodnight, it's a whole thing. But I had people coming up to me after shows, like grandmothers going, oh, I hear you. I had to clap in 1978. They start telling you stuff after the shows,
That's fantastic.
Yeah, I'm like, maybe we're a little too comfortable tonight.
Yeah, right. That's
one
great.
lady goes, I was married twice. One gave me a divorce, the other gave me crabs.
Wow, that's fantastic. All right, so what you got? Are we still going? You got time? You good? All right. So I wanted to shift gears a little bit. I know. I think it's both of you, but I know Chris, you're a big music guy, right?
Huge, yeah.
Yeah, you are too. Yeah, I thought so. But I know what was the story behind meeting Def Leppard? What was that, like last summer, the summer before?
Don't even say Def Leppard. You can't even say Def Leppard. He gets his pants rise.
Oh, is that right?
They're rising right now.
Exactly.
Well, I was going to say I'll fix that, but that's the wrong choice of words.
I'm sorry.
I will ruin that for you.
Really?
Worst concert I ever saw, Def Leppard.
Def Leppard.
Yep. 1992. It was some benefit, and it was Richard Marx,
Bryan Adams,
and Def Leppard.
I was there.
You were there for that?
I was at that concert.
Come on, they were terrible that night.
Bryan Adams is my other guy.
Bryan Adams was fantastic that night, and I'm not a big Bryan Adams. Oh, I love Tom Petty. Love Tom Petty.
I thought they were great that night.
They played nothing. It was all Hysteria, and what was the next?
Adrenalize was the new one at that time.
Right. And they didn't play. That's all he did. Stuff from those two albums. That was it.
Yeah,
very disappointing.
I don't remember the show that well.
Well, I just told you, damn it.
I mean, I actually like Bryan Adams the best.
He was the best that night.
Def Leppard.
He put on a great show.
But so it was my Def Leppard. I got Bell's palsy, right?
And
if you don't know, Bell's palsy, half my face was paralyzed.
Right.
But
it's temporary, thank goodness.
Hopefully. But the
what do you mean? You still have it now?
Not really.
I was going to say,
if I get tired, my face will sag a
no
little.
Kidding.
I get a little puffy under the eye.
Oh, wow.
The bass player from Def Leppard has had it like 30 years or something like that. 25 years. He still has it, Rick Savage. So anyway, I sent them. I basically sent Rick Savage a letter. I was working in business at that time, and I had like a business coach, and he's like, send Def Leppard a letter. We were like actually talking about this, you know. And I get a call like right before the Jones Beach concert from this guy. His name is Malvin Mortimer. That's the guy's.
Wow.
He goes, "So Malvin, I'm Def Leppard's road manager. Rick Savage wants to invite you and a guest backstage at the Jones Beach concert."
Wow, just like that, huh?
So I brought my son, and I called Malvin on his cell. He met us. He walks us through an empty Jones Beach. He goes, "They're doing some stuff, but just..." So he puts me in like the family area. So like I'm sitting here, and Tommy Shaw from Styx is there eating dinner because they were the opening act, and Tesla's over here because Tesla was on the show.
Right.
And we were just like sitting around, and I kept waiting to get kicked out.
Yeah,
you know,
sure.
Like I'm not supposed to be here.
Yeah.
I also didn't realize, like, when you go to Jones Beach, there's the wall, like, where the drummer is.
Yeah.
The wall's about this thick.
Yeah.
They're right on the other side.
Yes, they are. And it's huge back there.
Yeah.
It's.
Yeah.
I remember the first time being back there. Holy, it's like a whole nother.
Is it really?
Oh, it's
I always
huge back
wondered.
there.
Because I wonder where they're going backstage.
Yeah, there's
Yeah,
different rooms and stuff.
Right, offices. There's a big area. There's a. I don't know if it's still there, but I haven't been back there in a few years. But there was a little basketball court back there.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
really?
it's
Yeah.
great. In
Really?
fact, you're like this. In 2000, I think this was the last time I was back there. 2004, I think it was. My brother had a connection at the time, so we went backstage for Fleetwood Mac, and I had a collared shirt, like similar to yours, but I had the Mets symbol. Right. We walked backstage. The very first person I see back there is Gary Carter.
Wow.
Really?
He looks at me, sees the Mets emblem. He comes walking right over to me. This was, I think, just like a month after he got inducted into the Hall of Fame. So I think that's 2004. We start talking, and I had actually have met him before. So, but it was still a big thrill. We went on the buffet line together. We had food. We sat and had dinner together. You know,
How great is
oh,
that?
it was
I
fantastic.
heard he was the greatest guy.
I've met Gary Carter 4 times. Super, super nice man every
God
time.
bless his soul.
Every
what
time.
A great guy. I've
Yeah,
always
what
heard
a
everything.
so it's still sad to me that he's gone.
Oh.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's great back there.
I love when Gary Carter said it was like the '86 season, and Lenny Dykstra was banging on all their doors. And
Yes.
and Gary
Yes.
came out right and like grabbed him by the
Yep.
neck. And, "You will not do that."
Yep. And he was a man of faith, so you know you pissed him off if he was doing something like that.
He was not the type of guy to do that.
They
Yeah.
were great. They're good guys, and one of the things they were doing, why I had to wait. Rick Allen, the drummer, has one arm.
Right.
He was meeting with like wounded vets. Like he does stuff, a lot of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
They do like a little drum circle or something.
Oh,
and-
that's cool.
Yeah. So. Yeah, it was like, so I'm going in to meet them while like these, the wounded vets and everybody's like, thanking them for their service and stuff.
Nice.
And then you just walk into a room to take the picture, and the whole band's just like standing there, and I almost fainted. Holy crap! There they are. And they put me right next to. I'm like this close to Rick Savage, right?
Right.
And,
yeah.
And he's still got Bell's palsy. I have Bell's palsy. He goes, "Oh, great! They put us together. They're gonna tell us to smile, and we can't." It's like brilliant. It's like,
Now him though, you can tell that he has it. I can't tell with you.
it goes away, but like if I don't think I still like have it, but like if I get tired, I could get headaches, or it's something with the nerve.
Oh,
something
that's
with
interesting.
that
I
nerve.
didn't know that.
You still have residual effects from it?
Sometimes, yeah.
I didn't know that. I thought once it was gone, it was gone. I didn't know
Yeah.
that there were residuals.
It could come back, and his never went away. Like I
Right.
just watched a clip of them in Vegas, and they all have bottled water. He has a thing that like almost like a special cup with a straw. Like it's probably easier for him than just drinking like a bottle of water.
Right.
I'm guessing.
Oh,
I was
wow.
like drinking through a sippy cup. I had to wear an eye patch at night because I couldn't close my eye.
No kidding.
Yeah, it was really messed up.
Wow, man. And that's something else. Joey Cola, he's had it, and even Dice had it
Yeah.
last year, I think
Yeah.
it was. Yeah.
And it was the funny thing. Well, not that it was funny at the time, but my wife and I had just separated. She was seeing somebody new, and then I get hit with Bell's palsy. So I'm like, that's a great way to pick up chicks with half your face not moving. Great timing, God. Thanks. As I said, like God's a gag writer sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. She definitely has a big sense of humor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God is a woman.
Yeah.
I agreed.
Ever tell you my Van Halen story?
No.
There was this band in the 90s. I don't know if they're still around or not. An alternative band, Our Lady Peace. They were called. I don't know if you.
Yeah.
You remember them? Really?
I remember the name. I don't know that one.
They got some airplay. A little bit. And a buddy of mine owned a CD shop, Purple Haze in Hicksville, And
I remember Purple Haze.
do you?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was owned by a few guys, but one of my guys, one of the guys.
Sold like used CDs sometimes and stuff.
Used?
And,
Is that what you said? Yeah.
like,
They had a huge used CD selection.
Yeah.
Yeah. They had a Ticketmaster too, which was nice. Oh,
Yeah.
They used to get me primo seats. So the Our Lady Peace was coming in to the store to sign CDs and stuff. So I drew like a caricature of the group, and it was hanging up. It was to promote that they're coming in. So when they came in and they saw it, like, oh, who drew this? I was like, immediately, here's passes for tonight. We're opening for Van Halen at Jones Beach, and I'm a huge Van Halen guy. I'm a nut.
I was too.
So I was like, oh my God, this is fantastic. So I go to the show. It was the last tour they did with Sammy. So that's what, 95 or whatever it was. And I had already seen that tour at the Coliseum. So, it's Sammy's acoustic number. I'm like, all right, this is the pee break time.
Right, yeah.
So at Jones Beach, I think they still have them. They have those high-rise seats on the ends of each end of the stage, and that's where the people backstage passes go. So I'm up there. Sammy's using the acoustic number. I'm like, all right. I go down the steps. I'm gonna go pee. I come down. The stage is to my left, and I got to go to the right to go to the bathroom. But sure enough, I get down to the stairs. As close as you are to me, there's Eddie. And I'm just, holy shit. I'm 25. I'm totally starstruck. And the only other person that I can see, probably like as far as the couch, is an older gentleman. He's just sitting there. So I just kind of look at them. They're looking at me. And again, I'm 25. I'm totally starstruck. I pull out a picture of one of Eddie Van Halen's guitars that I just happen to have on me. Can you sign this?
Yeah.
Eddie looks at me and goes, like this. He's just like, he goes, no. Like, you could see it all over his face. Like, where the fuck did you come from? He goes, no. He goes, you got to get the fuck out of here.
You said that?
Yeah. And now it's like a cartoon, like, like Super Friends, where they just like narrating, like, if I bring out my rope and I throw it, it'll just. That's exactly what I did. I'm saying to nobody, I go, Eddie Van Halen just cursed at me, just like that. With that, as soon as I said it, there's security coming from all sorts of different directions. I put my hands up. I go, no problem, guys, no problem. I take off. I go to the bathroom. And that was it. I finish do my business. I go back to my seat. The end of the show, they come out for their encore. They start playing Mississippi Queen.
Oh, really?
And they go, ladies and gentlemen, we have a special guest here tonight. Here's Leslie West from Mountain, and he's playing. That was the old man sitting on the couch.
Wow.
I didn't recognize him. So I'm like, son of a bitch. It was me, Eddie Van Halen, and Leslie West. It's like, son of a bitch. Like, yeah, that's my Van Halen story.
I was doing a show at the New Jersey-New York border maybe 15, 17 years ago. You know who was in the audience? Leslie West.
Wow. He's a Long Island guy, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't know, but he was it was like North Jersey, but maybe even like Rockland County, like kind of like by the Palisades Park, like over there.
Okay.
And he was in the audience.
He used to do Stern all the time.
Yes.
Leslie West. He was like, he used to come in all the time, and he's amazing.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he was, and he lost his leg too before he died. But yeah, he was great, and I just couldn't believe it. Then that's got to be wild too to see somebody like that in the audience.
I heard, yeah, it was. Oh, and when I had Darryl Strawberry in the audience once at the Woodbury Country Club, Crest Hollow Country Club, one of those country clubs.
Nice.
All I thought of was him the entire time.
Yeah.
And I think Joey was on that show. I was only doing comedy a few years, but I was like, I met him before. I was like,
wow.
I was like, I can't deal with this.
Yeah. So, who have you met? I guess comedy or otherwise that have made you starstruck. Because I'm sure you've met a lot of guys, and where you got to go out and do your act. Meanwhile, you might have a Robert Klein back there coming out after.
Yeah. Well, Darryl Strawberry was definitely messed with my head.
Yeah.
Steven Tyler, I met him.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, for like a second, he high-fived me. It was that fast.
Right.
But
I'm trying to think of somebody. That's a good question. I know there's somebody that I'm not. There's somebody very obvious that I'm missing.
Klein for me. Robert Klein was a big
sure.
one when we met him.
Absolutely.
Oh no, we met him, but I think he meant when we were on the show when you were performing.
Well, either one, but
oh yeah, but Robert Klein, sure.
Yeah.
I mean, Sebastian Maniscalco when I worked with him for a week.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
okay.
I worked with him for a week, and he was big. He wasn't doing UBS Arena yet, which didn't exist yet, but he wasn't doing stadiums per se.
Right,
but
right.
he was sold out for the week. I mean, he would sell out shows like it was.
Where was it?
Uncle Vinny's in New Jersey.
Right.
And
okay.
he was a week of sold out shows.
Wow.
And my wife wanted to see him, and she wound up against the door. I mean, they had to give her. He gave her a seat. It was like a fire hazard.
Oh yeah, I
bet. There were so many people in
there. Yeah.
I opened for Jimmy Walker, and Rich Walker told me, don't ask him for like photos and stuff. He's not going to.
I've heard that. I don't know if it was Rich or somebody else, but I've heard that. Yeah.
So then I go into the old McGuire's and John Ryerson's like, don't bother the guy. You know, I'm like, I won't. No, nobody will. You know.
Yeah.
So there were 2 shows. After the first show, I'm standing in the back of the room, and I'm just talking to Jimmy Walker. He was there. Now I had my guard up because I was hearing these things. Right. He ended up he was really, really nice. And we have a friend, this guy Tommy. He's not in comedy anymore, but he comes walking over. And Jimmy Walker sees he's holding like a disposable camera. This is like 2003 or whatever.
Okay.
And Jimmy Walker goes to me. He's like, "You want to take a picture?" And I'm like, "Yeah." So then Jimmy Walker starts crapping all over Tommy's camera. Well, that's a cheap ass camera, you know. And Tommy takes the picture. And Jimmy Walker was great that night. He was a nice guy. Tommy puts the camera in the back of his car. His car gets stolen, and I never got the photo with Jimmy Walker.
No way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy.
So, like, I'm telling Rich Walker, like, he took a picture with me. It's like, oh, yeah, sure you did.
Right,
sure
right.
You did.
Maybe Jimmy Walker stole it.
Yeah, he stole the car.
He didn't want the stigma of having to pose for a picture with you.
Now everybody's going to ask me, fuck it.
My friend Tommy's car gets stolen that night. He has a rental car. Like 5 days later, we're doing an open mic. Someone picks up the keys. He had his keys on the table. They steal his rental car.
Come on.
So I have to drive him home because in a week he's had 2 cars stolen. The same cop responds, and the cop's going, "Are you having an affair with someone?"
Yeah, right,
like,
right.
What are you doing? You know?
Oh my goodness! Don't drive anymore. That's insane. I've never heard anything like that.
Yeah.
I met Ed Kranepool once. I was at a concert at the beach. It was John Mayer and Sheryl Crow. It's in between acts, and I'm just looking in one section over. I spot Ed Kranepool. I'm like, no way. I walk over, Mr. Kranepool. I just wanted to say hi. You know, big fan. Same thing. He said, would you like to take a picture? Okay.
Yeah.
But nobody stole my car, so I have the picture at home.
I have my picture with Ed Kranepool.
Yeah.
I saw him at an airport, and I also saw him at a '69 Mets reunion thing
That's
a
nice.
few years ago. Yeah, it was really nice.
And he signed my ticket, so I have a Sheryl Crow concert ticket signed by Ed Kranepool.
That's like a one-off.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very valuable.
Nice guy.
Yes.
The nicest guy, we've both met him. It was Doc Gooden.
I've met Doc. He's a good guy.
Doc,
yeah,
he's the greatest.
Yep.
He's
really
a
nice
lot
guy.
of the Met. Like I tell you something, a lot of the guys from fantasy camp. One guy is better than the next. They're all great guys.
Yeah.
They are. No, they are. Otherwise, they wouldn't be there.
Did you guys, or at least I think you did, went to Old Timers Day, right, last year?
No, I didn't go.
Oh, you didn't go? I thought you did. You didn't go?
No, I didn't go.
Because I always think about you going to the fantasy camp all the time, and I'll never forget. And it was obvious, you know, John Stearns.
Yeah.
You know, he looked. I think he died 3 weeks later. So I'll just never forget. Again, you know, didn't take a brain surgeon to realize this man is on his way.
Yeah.
The field had cleared. Everybody walked out. He just stood there, like for the longest time, just checking it all out because he must have known this is the last time I'm going to see this.
You know what? He
was
our
unbelievable.
Commissioner. He was the commissioner. He
Right.
threw me batting practice.
Right. I remember you telling me that.
Can you imagine?
Right.
He was, but apparently, I think he was having some cognitive troubles, from what I understand.
Okay.
'Cause I think he got into an argument. I don't really want to get into it.
Yeah.
But I believe that they thought he was having cognitive issues, and then he died maybe a year later, and he did look.
Oh.
He really disintegrated, and he had to catch 5 games in 3 days. The Mets didn't have a backup catcher. It was in Philly in '82, and I went up to him and I remembered, and I told him, I said, I remember you catching a Friday night doubleheader Saturday or doubleheader Friday, doubleheader Saturday, and
Wow.
and a game on Sunday. He said, yeah, blah blah blah. I was just like, wow.
Where was Ron Hodges?
I know it was 82. I don't know. Something happened where he was hurt, and they couldn't get I don't understand how.
Yeah, right.
They couldn't get a catcher up there.
Right.
But there you go. Yeah, and he was a tough guy, and he was drafted by the Bills.
Yeah. He was
Yes.
a football player, right?
He was drafted by the Bills, and then meanwhile, he was terrific, and to see him, he was a robust guy. He was a little on the thin side, but I remember him giving us a batting lesson, and he was addressing all of us, and he had so much chi, he had so much internal energy, and he was talking and blah blah blah, and then a couple of years later was that.
Right. It was some kind of cancer, if I'm not mistaken, but
And I don't even
it
think
did.
it was
It ate
three-
him
I
up.
don't even think it was 3 weeks. I swear to you, I don't even. I think it was
What,
even
after the
less than
game?
that.
It was
Yeah,
like right after.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it may have been 2 weeks or less. I mean,
Yeah.
I could be wrong.
It was very quick after
But
that
it was
game. Yeah.
quick. In any event. It was
Yeah, and you just, I mean, and the whole place felt it. I mean, he stood out there by himself just looking for such a long time, and
remember
we all
that
just
game,
kept cheering
Yeah,
because
yeah.
we kind of felt like, oh, this guy's probably on his way. But
It's tough when, as I get older, you see your heroes starting to go. You know?
Yes.
Like I grew up huge Islander fan, so in the last 2 years, Mike Bossy, Clark Dewey's,
Right.
the staples start to go.
yep, yeah, I mean, we've been talking about that off and on today about our age and whatnot, and just this morning, I was a big art guy in school. I was an art major. I draw a lot, and yeah, I just found out this morning an art teacher of mine had passed, and 75 years old, and I'm like, son of a bitch, like. When I went to school, hundreds of years ago, she was hot. And I'm like, 75 and she's dead. Like, it's so, like, it's weird to me to think that, we're that old, that people, friends and heroes are dying.
I'm
It's
10
weird.
years older than you.
Yeah, so it's so long. Nice knowing you.
Yeah. I've been saying it. I'm almost dead.
He's doing kicks and karate.
Absolutely.
shit,
He's going to be the last one to go.
No, but you say that. Hey, I would have thought John Stearns would have been the last one, and
Yeah,
I would
true.
have thought Gary Carter would have outlived all those guys.
Absolutely
just as
right.
clean as he lived.
Right.
Oh, you don't. Let me tell you
Yep.
something. Can I tell you something? If I couldn't do what all that I'm doing, take me.
Right.
It's okay.
Yep, I'm with you.
Lived it.
Life is too short, man. You gotta, you can't waste it. You watch that thing, that Carter special that they put on a few years ago.
yeah.
I cry every single time I watch it, man.
His daughters were so heartbroken.
Yep, absolutely. Oh, and I'm sure I must have told you. So right after he died, that following season, because he died, I think it was February, and then that following season, opening day, they unveiled like they had a thing.
I was there.
I was there too.
Yeah.
That's my story. So in fact, I was there with Nick Ho.
Mm-hmm.
This was the first year they had the party deck in left field.
Okay.
So we're and that's where our seats are. We're there for the first game with the party deck, and the game's about to start. And like I said, I met Carter 4 times. I was a big fan, so I knew what his family looked like. Sure enough, the game's about to start, and I see them coming out, and they're walking on the warning track. So I'm just watching them. They stop right in front of me. So I remember saying to myself, "I'm not moving. I am not moving." It turned out to be where they had they had a home plate, and it said "Kid" and number 8, and they kept that up there for the season. And that's what they were doing. They're unveiling it. Now, it was, it's April, so it's still, the weather you don't know, and it was a really windy day. So they're getting ready to unveil it, and they couldn't hold the tarp. It was starting to blow off.
Yeah.
I'm holding it with them.
Oh, really?
I'm holding the damn thing. Now, there was a Mets employee in the seats with us, and one or two on the field. What's that?
The Mets employee should have been holding
Well, that's what he actually came down. He grabbed it. He goes, "I got it." Like, he didn't want me to hold it.
right.
And I said to him, "I go, look, I'm not messing around. I'm just trying to help." He goes, "No, I got it." Maybe his job is on the line. I don't know.
Right. Obviously, you should be.
Yeah, so I did. I let go. But then, so they unveil it, and they're standing there. The next day, the Daily News, it was like it was posed, and I'll show it to you. I have it here somewhere. Full page picture of the family, and there I am, and I have a bright red shirt on. So I'm standing,
really?
and I'm like, I look like Rocky Balboa. I'm just like this. But this picture had to be taken from like home plate, But I'm like, like you would think it's a picture of me and not the family. Like, it was really strange.
I gotta see that.
I'm on the bowl the next day. I'm taking a shit. A friend of mine calls me up. "You're in the newspaper." Like, "What are you talking about, newspaper? You were at the game yesterday?" I was like, "Oh yeah." He goes, "Paper." I'm like,
You gotta send that picture.
I do. I have it. I'll look for it. We're gonna go, but I'll look for it.
You know what happened? And I wound up. Me and my brother was sitting there, knowing how the Mets screw everything up. Says, "Watch, they retire the wrong number." Like a number 9, and that was J.C. Martin, and he on the '69 Mets, and he would go, "My God, I didn't know I meant that much."
Oh, they're dyslexic, and it says "Dick" instead of "Kid."
What took so long for the Seaver statue? Isn't that bad?
Oh,
Yes.
my God.
Yes.
I like the dick line. I like that.
I'm still mad about the Seaver statue that he wasn't there to unveil it.
Yeah, I agree. But at least they're bringing back Old Timers Day. They're slowly
Well, the new ownership. That's
They're not doing it this year, though. There's no Old Timers Day this year.
They're not doing it this year?
No, I don't think they're doing it this year.
Really?
I think Cohen said they're only going to do it like every couple of years.
Maybe he figures. He figures it has more effectiveness that way.
Well, Maybe, but
They
you're going to
don't have
sell out.
They don't have the tradition.
They
It's
don't.
not like the Yankees. They don't have the tradition.
Right.
But, I could see every year you're going to have guys. It would be the same guys, basically,
Yeah.
coming out. So maybe
True.
they figure it wouldn't be as effective. And maybe after a few years, you'll accumulate more and more, quote-unquote, old-timers to
Right.
bring out to make make the issue itself fresh.
Right. Well,
You know what I mean? That could be the reason.
it would help if they, won something once in a while too. Then, then we'd be more nostalgic to see some other guys from other eras.
Everybody's excited about the new owner. That's why I think
Yes.
they've got a mulligan for a few years.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree.
They do.
I agree.
He wants to do the Bobby Bonilla Day where they have Bonilla
Yeah,
come
right.
and give him the big check. Like
Yeah, right. They should. Why not? I heard that they've got a ton of giveaways this year.
Oh,
They're
yeah?
talking about it on the radio. I didn't
Yeah.
look, but I mean bobbleheads and this. They got a lot of stuff.
Really? I'll have to look.
So, I don't know.
So, all right. Well, there we go. All right. So this Friday, go see these two guys in the gig. Is it just two of you, or who else?
I'm not sure. It may
Oh, okay.
just be the two of us. I don't
Nice.
know.
Okay.
But I had asked for Chris. Chris is on with me.
That's a good
And
show
I
either
don't
way. That's this Friday in the Giggle Room. Go to govs.com. Make yourself some reservations. Also, you got Joey Cola Saturday at the Brokerage. Nico White is playing. Zarna Garg. Sidney Castillo. Lots of great comedians playing Governor's stages this weekend. So go to govs.com. But these are the guys. Right here on Friday. Go see Joey on Saturday at the Brokerage. That's a fun weekend right there. So thank you, guys. Good to see you, as always.
Good to see you.
Easily could have gone much longer and kept on talking Mets and music and good stuff. So hopefully you guys will come back really soon. Say hi to Susan.
I will.
And I always feel bad. Like, you come in and she's always welcome too if she wants to come.
sure,
I hope she knows that.
Oh, yes. Yes, she does.
Okay. Well, yeah, she probably does because she knows these things. So, all right. All right, so we're back tomorrow. John Ziegler will be hanging out with us tomorrow. Looking forward to that. It's been a while since John's been here. So, and then hopefully Chris Monty on Friday. Who knows? So, all right, enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. What's today? Wednesday. So tonight on the YouTube channel, you got Circling the Drain. And then immediately after that, you got Tim Saliani, Rich Rada, and Carla Okerson with Why You Like This. And Keegan, he does a show on here on Tuesdays with Mark Hirschman.
Yeah.
It's not next week. Maybe the week after. The week after that, they got Todd Zeal.
wow.
What, on Zoom or he's coming in?
I think on Zoom, but still going to be on their show, which is
Very
cool.
fantastic.
They had Anthony Recker a
Yeah,
few months ago.
I
Yeah.
watched that. That was
Yeah.
good, yeah.
Yeah, it's good stuff. All right, we're out of here. See you guys later.